everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Diverse Wednesday. Today's episode is called Life is a Journey because all three books I'm going to show you today are memoirs and a journey of discovering who you are, who you love, and how to express that. The first book I want to show you today is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Jenkins Reid. This is a fictional memoir, and the main character in this book is fictional, but it feels like she is for 100% a real person. So this is about Evelyn Hugo. She is a Hollywood movie star, and she announces that as she is getting older and is 79 years old already, she would like her biography written down. And she chooses unknown magazine reporter Monique for the job. No one understands why she chooses this unknown reporter and won't let anyone else write her biography. After accepting the job, she has to go to Evelyn's apartment several times to listen to her story. A story that no one has ever heard before. A story about how she made her way to Los Angeles in the 1950s and why she decided to leave the show business in the late 80s. And not to forget the seven husbands along the way. But on top of that, also a forbidden love with a woman. Evelyn is bisexual, and I think the writer has done such a great job writing her character. And I also like that there are some newspaper articles included in the book. And at the end of the book, you'll find out why Monique was the only person allowed to write her biography and why she wouldn't let anyone else write it, and how Monique is connected to all of this. And this book does not only contain the biography of Evelyn Hugo, but it also has some chapters about Monique and her struggles in life. I never expected to like this book as much as I did because after having read the summary, I wasn't sure if I would like it that much, but I am so glad that I did read it because I just love the way how the author portrays the characters, and you just feel really connected with the characters, and I just love this writing style, and it was a really interesting story, and there are also some really heartbreaking parts in the book as well. So if you are looking for a book about movie stars or just a book with characters that you can really connect with, then this is definitely the book for you. Next is Over the Top by Jonathan Van Ness, and I listened to the audiobook for this one because it is narrated by the author themselves. They are non-binary, and you might already know them from Queer Eye, which is a show that I absolutely adore. I love that show so much, and I have binge-watched like all seasons in a row, and I fell in love with each and every one of the Fab Five. And when I found out that 4 of them have their own book, I just knew that I had to read them. So I started with this one, and this is their biography, and it contains some really important messages as well. So the story starts off in their youth. Jonathan grew up in a really small Midwestern town in which they could never really be themselves and be the person they wanted to be. This story deals with trauma, sexuality, addiction, pain, and death. So if those are topics that are triggering for you in some way, or if there is something that you don't feel comfortable with reading about, then this book may not be for you. But this story also shows their passion for figure skating and hairdressing and the road to becoming part of Queer Eye. And I think this is such an important story about the journey to self-acceptance and self-love and self-care, and If you want to read this book, I strongly advise you to listen to the audiobook. I always think that audiobooks are best when they are narrated by the author themselves, and it is just such a delight to listen to Jonathan and let them tell their story. The last book I want to show you today is All Boys Aren't Blue by George M.Johnson, and this is a really unique but important biography. In this book, George talks about what it was like growing up as black and queer, and the story is divided into 4 acts. And the first act is all about his childhood and what it was like growing up as the different kid. This part also deals with homophobia, trauma, and sexual assault, so please keep that in mind if that is something that is triggering for you. George, however, is very open about everything in this book, which I really like, and the second act is all about his family, and honestly, this whole book focuses a lot on his family, and George has a really loving family, which I love, and he also talks about one of his family members who found out that they were trans, and his family was also really understanding and accepting about this. But despite the fact that his family was so understanding and accepting, George never really admitted the fact that he was gay. And people called him names and people suspected, and sometimes they even asked, but he never admitted that he was gay. And this went on for a really long time actually. Only halfway during college did he really give in to being gay, and to me it seems really difficult to keep those kind of feelings hidden inside for such a long time, but life is a journey and everyone has their own pace. The third act is about his time in high school, and the fourth act is about his friends and going to college. And besides dealing with homophobia, trauma, and sexual assault, the author also talks about the importance of family and about losing people. And I really like that family is such an important topic in this book and such an important topic in his life. And I really liked reading about his other family members as well. This book is fairly short and the writing style is not too difficult as well, so that makes it really accessible for everyone. And I think that this is a really important read. I think that my favorite quote from this book is this one. When people ask me how I got into activism, I often say, the first person you are ever an activist for is yourself. If I wasn't gonna fight for me, who else was? In turn, I became a voice for us all that day. We've come to the end of this third episode already, and please let me know which LGBTQ+ biographies you have read so far and whether you enjoyed them. And if you have any tips or suggestions for upcoming episodes, please don't hesitate to leave those in the comments as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. I try to post every Wednesday and Saturday, so if you want to be notified whenever I post, please subscribe to my channel and click on that little bell icon. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again next Wednesday for a new episode, and I wish you a wonderful day with a lot of sunshine and books. Mata ne!